At a hotel gala, a chef forces a dishwasher to pick hot food off the floor as service runs, and a banquet manager steps in despite risking her job. The choice triggers immediate consequences and a quiet shift in how the kitchen treats the most vulnerable worker. Small changes ripple through the staff and lead to a steady, earned moment of dignity without loud apologies. Before we get started, tap like, share, and subscribe to join the journey. And tell me, where in the world are you watching? Drop your country below. I love seeing the global trail of these stories. The chef tipped the pan. Truffled mushrooms slid off gleaming steel and scattered across the wet tile, steam curling around the dishwasher's shoes. "Pick them up," he said, voice flat in the hard light. He pointed with his tongs. The older man reached with bare fingers. Heat kissed his knuckles. Servers at the pass pretended to stare at their trays. She was at the pass, counting plates, when the clatter hit her chest. The banquet manager glanced up from the clipboard. Stainless. Heat lamps. The chef's jaw tight. The old man bent, apron sodden, water dripping off the hem onto his socks. The GM's voice lived in her ear. No delays. The client's CEO had paid for gold fork rentals and a late jazz trio. The hotel needed this account. She needed her bonus to help her sister cover rent next month. The chef, with his TV tattoo and investors, could end her year with one call. The older man pinched another wad of mushrooms off the floor like he was ashamed of his own hands. People were waiting in the ballroom. The Sioux tapped the ticket rail with a ring, a nervous metronome. She stepped in, jacket already off. She slid the tongs from the chef's hand before she thought about it, set them down, and crouched. "Hands," she said to the man, low. "No more floor." She reached for a bus tub and scraped the mess into it with a deli spatula, tile squealing under the plastic edge. She knelt on tile. The heat lamps kept the back of her neck warm. Steam ghosted her hair. The smell of truffle butter and bleach rubbed together. She blocked the line with her body, shoes soaking through. "You don't get to interrupt my line," the chef said. He didn't need to raise his voice. His eyes cut toward the server's stacking move. Her radio clicked. "How's pacing?" The GM said, "We're at speeches." She kept her voice level. "Hold 2 minutes." She stood, handed the older man her blazer. "Break. Wash. Now." She nodded toward the mop closet and held the bus tub out to the sows. "Dump. Refire table 12. The Sioux hesitated, eyes flicking to the chef and then to her. "We don't have more truffles," he muttered. "Then send risotto," she said. "It's hot." "Don't do this on my service," the chef said. His hands opened and closed at his sides. "He slowed my dish pit and now we're in the weeds." His face had a flush under the beard that looked like worry more than rage. A server snorted. Someone whispered, "She's dead." She turned to them. "Take water to 12 and tell them an extra muse is coming," she said. "Not optional." Her voice had a snap they knew. Her radio clicked again, sharper. "No holds," the GM said. "Manager, I need you on the floor." Hand off the kitchen. She lifted the radio and pressed the button. "I'm in the kitchen," she said. "Give me 5. There's a safety issue." 2, the GM said. "A beat, and bring me the chef right after." The chef shook his head. "There is no safety issue," he said. He gestured at the older man who stood now with her blazer on, sleeves swallowing his forearms. The man's lips moved, but no sound came out. He pointed to the sink without meeting eyes. She slid open a mop closet. The light hummed on, moths freckled against the lens. "In," she said softly. She held back a broom and a pail with her hip. The man shuffled past, shoes squishing. "Manager," the GM said in her ear again, lower. "You're off the floor until we debrief. Hand your radio to the bar lid." She looked at the chef. He glared at the bus tub like he could set it on fire. The servers waited for a cue. The Sioux already had a pot on. "You got this?" she asked him. He nodded. "Quick. I'll plate risotto," he said, not looking at the chef. She unclipped her radio and passed it to a bartender hustling by with a tray of highballs. The bartender raised her eyebrows, took it anyway. The room at the pass breathed again. Plates clattered. A runner slipped through with a stack of spoons. She pulled the closet door mostly shut but left it ajar. Inside, it smelled like lemon cleaner and wet mop. The man's shoulders slumped under her blazer like the fabric was heavy. His hands trembled. 2 knuckles were pink. She unwrapped a bandage with her teeth. "Finger," she said. He offered his hand. She dabbed water on the heat mark, and the skin went shiny. He hissed once and squeezed his eyes shut. She pressed the bandage over the spot and smoothed it. "You okay to sit?" she asked. He nodded. She flipped an upside-down bucket and guided him onto it. It made a hollow sound. She listened. The kitchen carried on, a different rhythm. The clank of ladles, the hiss of steam. The chef's voice became orders again. Not a blade. When he reached for his backpack, it caught on a nail in the wall and spilled. Papers slid. A white envelope creased. A little blue card folded in half. A drawing in marker of a green dinosaur with big teeth. He bent to gather them, embarrassed. She crouched and eased the envelope back toward him. The return address said, County Hoosing. The blue card had times printed on it and penned check marks. DILs, it said, on top, ocean blue block letters. The dinosaur had a name scrawled across the top in wobbly handwriting. A plastic case with a dead hearing aid sat in the side pocket. He saw her see it and his shoulders bunched. He tapped his ear, then shook his head. Battery, he said, and shrugged. She stood, wiped her knees on her skirt, and swiped her phone. Do you want me to call you a ride? She asked. He shook his head at first, then nodded, eyes somewhere near her shoes. He lifted the dinosaur drawing like a shield and slid it back into the bag. She pulled a black Banquet shirt from a supply bin and handed it to him. This is a small, she said. Might fit. He looked at it like it might bite, then patted his chest. Yours? Hotels, she said. You can keep it. He smiled once, tiny. The bandage on his finger glowed white against his skin. He pulled off his wet apron and set it on the mop handle carefully, like it mattered to hang it straight. She handed the driver cash. On the loading dock, the night air was cold against the kitchen heat. Trucks hummed at the curb. The cab's meter ticked faint little red numbers. She steadied the man's elbow as he stepped in. He tried to give the blazer back. She shook her head. Wear it, she said. It's freezing. He touched the lapel like it was a costume and nodded once. Back inside, the GM stood at the end of the service hall. He didn't yell. He didn't need to. Office, he said. He gestured with his chin now. The debrief was short. Policies. Hierarchy. We can't stop service for that, he said, waving at the general space. He glanced toward the kitchen. You undermined the department head. You handed off your radio. You sent out risotto instead of the contracted dish. She kept her hand steady on her lap. The sound of the ballroom bled through the wall. Clink of glass, laughter that took a second to arrive. He was pushing a worker to grab hot food from the floor with bare hands, she said, even on wet tile. The GM rubbed his eyes. He looked tired, not cruel. He's under pressure. We all are. It's the gala. The client is a friend of the owner. I don't want to fire you, he sighed. But I can't have that. He flicked 2 fingers toward the kitchen again, like he wanted to pick the right word and didn't have it. She nodded. What happens? She asked. He slid a paper across the desk. Suspension, 1 week. Loss of that night's overtime. Probation for 90 days. Reassignment to overnights when she returned. He didn't gloat. He looked like he had a headache. Turn in your locker key, he said. She emptied her locker into a linen bag. A lint roller, a soft pair of flats, a tiny sewing kit, a spare charging cord. She walked past the ballroom doors on her way out. She caught a sliver of the CEO telling a story about failing twice before his big win. People laughed politely. She paused by the dish pit. Steam had turned the room into a scene in a shower. The kid on rinse duty had headphones looped around his neck. Not in his ears this time. He looked up, mouth tight. Thanks, he said, barely audible over the spray. She lifted a hand and then let it fall, not sure what to do with it. The next week, someone taped a handwritten sign above the pass. No public call-outs. A little smiley face, a crooked line. It was a joke until it wasn't. People glanced at it and then swallowed words they had loaded. By Thursday, a plastic bin labeled misfires sat near the line. Food that would have been tossed found the bin instead. Staff ate between tickets, standing. No one had to touch anything off the floor. On Friday at lineup, the chef cleared his throat. Dish team, he said. Eyes on his prep list. If the floor's wet, you stop me. I don't care what's in my hand. He didn't look up. He tapped the ticket rail, slower. The servers nodded like they were hearing a new language they maybe understood. In the dish pit, a small bowl of batteries appeared next to the lost and found. Someone had written hearing take if you need in Sharpie. The batteries migrated to a drawer in a Ziploc bag with a kind of reverence. A week after she came back on nights, the schedule showed 10-minute staggered breaks for the dish crew. They didn't always happen, but they existed in ink. A stack of clean black shirts in various sizes lived in a clear bin near the mop sink. People adjusted without hashtags. The bartender who took her radio started carrying bandages in her apron A runner put a rubber mat in the spot where the tile always slicked near the salad station. Someone hung a little dinosaur drawing in the hall by the time clock with a piece of blue painter's tape. She saw the older man again 2 Fridays later. He moved slower but steadier. He had a fresh hearing aid. It hugged his ear like a small silver fish. He touched her sleeve and then touched his ear and shrugged like it works. He wore her blazer still, sleeves hemmed awkwardly with black thread. The chef passed by and didn't stop. He didn't apologize. He did set down a bowl in the dish pit, careful, instead of tossing it into the sink. The sound was dull, not shattering. The older man nodded once, almost invisible, and kept working. Later, alone in the ballroom, she stood under a dark chandelier and listened to the hum behind the walls. The carpet was a pattern that could make you dizzy if you stared. She squinted at the reflection of the exit sign on a polished water glass. It looked like a small red boat. She thought about lines people draw in rooms where no one is looking and who gets to move them and who doesn't. She pressed her palms flat on the cool table until her breathing slid into the quiet of machines at rest. On the stainless prep table by the door, someone had left a folded napkin, a neat little triangle, catching a strip of light from the hall. It sat there, still, like it was saving a place for morning.